Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Sonic X. Okay, so this episode actually had Sonic and the gang actually going to an ice world, and that's kind of a fun little concept of it. Also, Rouge is still manipulating Bokoon to do her bidding, which is kind of funny, but yeah, the episode actually starts off with Chris announcing that he actually created a program to track Chaos Emeralds. And the way it works is that they use the one they already have to basically find the rest. They kind of use it. They kind of wired it into the GPS to find the Chaos Emeralds, basically. And eventually they do find one on a signal that's actually kind of close on a planet named Planet Breezy, which they remark sounds like a fun time. So with Sonic giving the go ahead, they actually do decide to actually go off and go find Planet Breezy. And meanwhile, and also they use their new warp drive to actually activate it now that they know that Eggman is actually following them around. So they use their warp drive to actually warp to Planet Breezy and get there that way. But however, it doesn't work because not only does Dr. Eggman have what he refers to as a universal tracking drive or whatever it's called that enables him to track them regardless of where they go. And also his own version of the warp drive, which is just called the egg drive. He then proceeds to announce that he then proceeds to tell everybody that he's preparing to follow them, and tells Deco and Boko to actually continue to pursue the cyclone so they can actually continue to follow them. And they do, and which it results in a very jarring CGI segment where an actual egg surrounds the Eggman starship, and then he flies off. Yeah, but in any case, eventually, Sonic and the group do manage to arrive at Planet Breezy, only to discover that Planet Breezy is, well, as I mentioned in the kind of the summary of this, it's an ice world. Long story short, the entire planet has been frozen over, and Cosmo even wonders out loud if it's because they stole the planet egg. Which actually kind of gets her concerned, because she realizes that if the Meterex are there, then there's possibly no hope of actually saving the planet. And to make matters worse, in kind of like a cutaway, it's revealed that the Meterex already have the Chaos Emerald in their possession. So yeah, they're already fighting a very uphill battle. But in any case, they then proceed to actually park the Blue Cyclone, or rather, they're actually somewhat attacked. They don't actually have to make an emergency landing because they're actually attacked by a Meterex shaped like a dragon, which proceeds to attack them very briefly. It doesn't do much damage to the ship because they managed to defeat it almost immediately, but it does damage the ship enough that they have to actually make an emergency landing. So unfortunately engines 1 and 3 go offline, and the Blue Cyclone actually does wind up going down. So yeah, in any case they wind up landing on the surface of the planet to actually kind of park it there, and actually just kind of keep an eye on it, and just kind of send Sonic and the others out to actually go and survey the planet and actually try and find the Chaos Emerald, while Tails stays behind to actually fix the engines with Cream Cheese and Amy. And while Cosmo, Chris, Sonic, and Knuckles actually go out to explore, and Sonic does actually something a little bit funny here, where he actually tries to actually jump out of the ship and land on the snow, but it's a little too deep for him, so he winds up just going through the surface of the snow. And Chris reveals that he actually made snow boots for everybody, which Sonic merely pops his head out of the snow and gives a thumbs up to. So they proceed. So after supplying everybody with snow boots, Chris then leads everybody through the planet, where Cosmo becomes increasingly distressed at the sight of the planet. She's increasingly distressed at the fact that the planet has now been frozen over completely, and remark that it seems like the planet might actually never actually recover. And to actually confirm this, she reveals that she can actually hear the life force of planets when she listens for it, she puts her head up next to a tree to emphasize this point, but only hears silence, which makes her very sad. And Chris merely tells her that they'll hopefully revive when spring comes, but she remarks that there may never be a spring. At which point, but it's at this point where Sonic actually gets a bit of a brilliant idea, remarking that that obviously if the Metarex are obviously still hanging around Planet Breezy, as he points out, since they do note that the Metarex are obviously still here because of the dragon that attacked them earlier. So he remarks that if they've already taken the planet egg and fled, then why are they still here? Which does perk Cosmo up a little bit, and she suggests they actually go look for the planet egg and possibly the Chaos Emerald as well. But and everybody is on board with it except Knuckles. Knuckles actually thinks it's a waste of time, but Sonic then suggests that since they can't actually take the Blue Cyclone to fly, that they should actually take the X-Tornado, and Chris does agree with that statement, so they do decide to take the X-Tornado, and Knuckles reluctantly agrees to come with, and they all pile into the X-Tornado back on the Blue Cyclone and actually proceed to take off and go investigate. Meanwhile, Dr. Eggman has since landed on the planet as well, and it remarks that this time around he'll actually have to do a much better job of hiding his airship. Otherwise, they're going to get spotted by both the Metarex and Sonic's team. So he remarks that they'll have to be a little bit coy to keep up so that he doesn't have to play games with them. Which does wind up perking up Deco and Boko, who thought he meant an actual game. So in response to that, he just gives them a shovel and tells them to go outside and build an igloo around his fort, so that the good guys actually don't see it, and also the Metarex don't see it as well. While this is happening, Bokun actually decides to leave the console, pointing out that he feels like the only real good thing is that Rouge isn't around, but it's revealed that she is. And proceeds to tell Bokun that she has another job for him, and proceeds to pull his locket out and tells him that and asks him if he has a problem with it, which he obviously responds that he doesn't. So he's forced to actually help her with her plan, and we eventually find out what it is. She actually puts sleeping powder in Eggman and Deco and Boko's hot cocoa, which Bokun then brings to them, and they all pass out shortly after building the igloo, which conveniently looks like Eggman's head. So yeah, they wind up. So yeah, they want the egg. So yeah, in any case, Dr. Eggman and the others are now passed out, and with them down for the count, Rouge then proceeds to go fly off and find the Metarex so that she can actually steal the Chaos Emerald for herself. So, and also, but because it's very windy and very snowy, she hopes she doesn't go snowblind in the process, and then proceeds to fly off in search of the Chaos Emerald. Meanwhile, the Sonic and his friends actually flying around in the X-Tornado have actually alerted the Metarex leader, the Metarex Crystal, I believe his name is, who has his name suggests he has a very crystalline appearance to him. And he merely tells his soldiers to keep the fortress guarded, pointing out that their enemy is approaching and they won't let them take the Chaos Emerald. And sure enough, when Sonic and the others actually get into range via the X-Tornado, the Metarex soldiers actually do start swarming them and trying to attack them. And it's only because of a combined effort of Sonic and Knuckles that they're able to drive them off. And they're very weak, notably. Sonic and Knuckles are able to defeat one every 5 seconds, so their numbers go down quickly, which is probably why they have numbers to begin with, to just have the advantage, because they're very weak in terms of overall power. Obviously, since Sonic and Knuckles have brought them down, their numbers down significantly during this fight. At which point, the Metarex soldiers realize they actually can't win and actually decide to lead Sonic and his friends into an ambush. So they chase them. They lead them into a giant canyon with the Sonic and the X-Tornado actually in tow, and then proceed to release an avalanche, which then proceeds to nearly flatten Sonic and his friends. It does wind up missing, but it does wind up actually hitting the blue Cyclone, which is actually trying to intervene and take off, and it just winds up flooding their engine again. So unfortunately the Blue Cyclone is down for the count again, and Tails has to go fix it again. So yeah, but it's at this point where the Metarex where they eventually find the Metarex base. And quickly realizing that they're going to actually need to infiltrate the place, Sonic and Knuckles actually jump off the X-Tornado to try and run on the ice which doesn't wind up working. But at which point Chris reveals that he actually made a hoverboard for Sonic to actually use to traverse the ice, which he actually winds up using to great effect to actually fight his way through the Metarex Fortress and also just traverse the landscape in general. At which point Knuckles asks Chris if he made another one for him, but Chris really remarks that he only had time to make the one, which annoys Knuckles. And he just grumbles about how nobody ever treats him with any respect and gets back on the X-Tornado, and they proceed to fly off and infiltrate the base in a different way by going through some of the walls. And also they also just can proceed to actually fly through the base as Sonic just kind of storms through the base single-handedly and just uses his snowboard to actually completely and utterly wreck the Metarex. They try to attack him, but Sonic quickly proves very good proficiency with his new toy because they can't actually land a hit on him. He easily just chews through their numbers and destroys them all instantly. So yeah, they had no chance in hell of actually getting close. But while the X-Tornado actually winds up flying through and actually plowing its way through things, and it's also during this segment where the Blue Cyclone is eventually fixed and actually goes into takeoff mode to actually try and aid the other heroes, which does wind up working somewhat, because they do wind up lending support later, but we'll get into that. But Metarex Crystal actually sees all of this going on through his monitors, and realizing the good guys are actually closing in on him, he then proceeds to it's not clear what he does at first, but he then proceeds to actually disappear and leave the room. But eventually, after plowing through all the Metarex, the group Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Chris and Cosmo do eventually wind up in the main room where the Chaos Emerald is actually stored. And long story short, they can't get to it because it's frozen in a giant pillar of ice. And Knuckles uses his shovel knuckles to try and get through, but he just winds up bouncing off and hurting himself. So yeah, he doesn't then neither of them can actually get through. At which point Metarex Crystal then proceeds to actually gloat, pointing out that obviously they've kept the Chaos Emerald very well protected, and they stand no chance of actually getting to it. Which does annoy Knuckles, and even tells Metarex Crystal to actually show his face, at which point it's revealed that Metarex Crystal is actually materialized inside the pillar where the Chaos Emerald is actually frozen inside of. So, and he then tells them that they're going to have to either turn back or he'll have to deal with them himself. And when they obviously refuse, he then proceeds to tell them that they chose poorly, and proceeds to show them the true power of the Chaos Emeralds. At which point he takes the right Chaos Emerald that he's had in his possession this whole time, and proceeds to place it on his chest, which causes him to actually become superpowered and become a lot more dangerous. And in the process, the entire ice palace winds up coming down on top of their head. And Rouge actually watched this whole thing from the roof, and realized that it was probably a lot bit smarter to actually wait for them to deal with Metarex Crystal before swooping in to take the Chaos Emerald for herself. So she just leaves to watch the fight as it kind of carries out. But in any case, Metarex Crystal actually does wind up destroying the entire palace in the process, and now he's a lot bigger. He's actually like 3-4 times the size, I think. In proportion to the other characters, where he used to be around the same size as them, but now he's a lot bigger and a lot meaner. So Cosmo and Chris actually wind up getting back into the X-Tornado to actually lend support from the air. Once again, while Sonic and Knuckles actually try to deal with Metarex Crystal, and they don't really succeed all that much. They actually just wind up bouncing off, and even Sonic with his superpowered abilities is just barely able to get through Metarex Crystal's ice attacks. But he winds up nearly getting captured in the process. At which point Cosmo realizes she needs to do something, and in the process accidentally sets off the laser on the X-Tornado, which cuts through Metarex Crystal's hands like butter. So, which Cosmo initially apologizes for, until Chris tells her that was helpful, and that's actually exactly what they need to actually beat Metarex Crystals. But at which point the Blue Tornado actually shows up to lend support, and It's at this point where Matrix Crystal actually winds up freezing the X Tornado's Blue Cyclone's main cannon, so they actually can't attack it again. Which they do note and realize that they now severely crippled. But Chris realizes that since the main cannon is offline, they'll have to use the secondary cannon and then proceed to retreat back to the Blue Cyclone to actually prep up an energy blast from the secondary cannon, using Knuckles to actually power up the Master Emerald. And long story short, they wind up powering up the secondary cannon and firing another laser blast at Matter X Crystal. And Matter X Crystal decides to gloat one last time, pointing out that their puny weapons are no match for him. But all he winds up doing is he winds up getting hit full blast with it and winds up melting because he's made of ice. So Matter X Crystal actually does wind up going down despite all of his boasting, and does wind up relinquishing the planet egg, which does cause the planet to actually start returning back to normal. At which point they then proceed to admire all the fact that the planet is now thawing out, but Cosmo is still distressed because nothing seems to be growing despite that. And becomes a little bit distressed at the fact that it doesn't seem like spring is actually coming. At which point Knuckles actually winds up spying the red Chaos Emerald on the ground and proceeds to go and pick it up, but then Rouge flies in and winds up stealing it. So yeah, and Knuckles is obviously very annoyed at this, and gets even more annoyed at Amy because she comes out and actually after seeing Rouge take it, actually decides to provide an unnecessary update and just remark that Rouge stole the Chaos Emerald, which everybody can see, and Knuckles in particular is annoyed at her for it. But in any case, Rouge then proceeds to just fly off with the Chaos Emerald, and she winds up getting it. But good news though is that eventually the grass on the planet actually does start growing. So Planet Breezy is able to finally sustain life again, which makes Cosmo happy, and they decide to get back into the Blue Cyclone and proceed to get ready to take off. Meanwhile, Dr. Eggman, Deco, and Boko realize that something had happened to them, and are now annoyed at the fact that they were actually knocked out for several minutes or hours or however long they were out. But in any case, Eggman initially decides to yell at Deco and Boko for falling asleep, but Deco merely remarks that Eggman fell asleep as well. And then Boko points out that they actually fell asleep after Bokoon brought them to Coco, which he does remark is very suspicious. And Bokoon isn't really good at lying, so he just outright tells them that it wasn't him who put sleeping powder in their coffee and in their cocoa, which confuses them. At which point he merely remarks that it was marshmallows, and remarks that he isn't a really good double crosser, which only confuses the trio further. So yeah, that doesn't wind up helping. Meanwhile, Rouge actually winds up taking a bath, fully clothed, might I add, probably because they didn't want to have some sort of implications with that of Rouge being in the bath by herself. I can understand that. She's 18, so yeah, that definitely would have been a little bit risky to put on the air. So, but she is definitely that character. So, but in any case, she then proceeds to admire the Chaos Emerald while washing off her clothes with her in them, and remarking that her clothes got a little bit dirty, but at least she got the Chaos Emerald. But then the Chaos Emerald actually breaks down and starts melting, which actually surprises her quite a bit. And then we find out why, because back in the Blue Cyclone, the group remarks that turns out the Chaos Emerald they thought was a Chaos Emerald turned out to be a fake, which winds up causing a little bit confusion. And Tails merely remarks that unless you were very keen on the slight impurities in the emeralds, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But now with that newfound information, and Chris proceeds to calibrate his algorithm again, and to make sure that they actually don't wind up picking up another fake. But it's at this point where Tails actually wonders why the Matter X actually went through the trouble of making a fake emerald in the first place. With the Matter X and Sonic merely picks up the fact that that's possible, that they just made fake emeralds to throw Sonic off the trail so that the Matter X had more than enough time to get the real ones. Which everybody remarks is entirely possible. At which point, Knuckles then proceeds to wonder what kind of face Rouge is currently making now that she knows that now that she's figuring out the emerald is likely a fake. And he's not wrong. Rouge is as Eggman's ship actually winds up taking off, she is visibly annoyed at the fact that her emerald is a fake, and vows that the Metarex are going to pay for that in the very near future. So yeah, this episode does open up some interesting prospects, which is that the Metarex are apparently making their own Chaos Emeralds, which is interesting because if they knew how to make their own Chaos Emeralds, it begs the question as to why they need the real ones. But oh no, it's very interesting that they do wind up making their own Chaos Emeralds. That is a big point of this episode, but or at least that's the point the episode decided to end on. But the question is, why? Nobody seems to have an answer for that, and I'm assuming that's going to be addressed later down the line. But and this episode is just interesting in that they do wind up going after their second Chaos Emerald of the bunch, winds up being a fake, and that winds up leaving the question of why are the Metarex making fake Chaos Emeralds? And I'm assuming that's going to be addressed in the future. But in any case, that's my review of Sonic X. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks. I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. Also, if you want to see more content from me, then be sure to check out my Twitch first and foremost. I stream every Sunday at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you absolutely want to see that, again, link is down in the description. Just go check that out. And finally, if you do want to see more content from me on the main channel, then be sure to check out the videos linked on the end screen. The top video is the most recent one. It may or may not be this one, whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So if you want to try something new or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!